The purpose of this lesson is to introduce the static service class arrays that I alluded to in the introduction to arrays video, which comes before this. So let's take a look at what is said here. This class contains various methods for manipulating arrays, such as sorting and searching. The class also contains a static factory that allows arrays to be viewed as lists. So we're not going to use all the methods here, but we will use some of them. And I'm just going to go through the most important ones. Now, one feature you'll notice here is that every method beyond asList, every method is overloaded. And why is it overloaded? Because you need a separate method for every primitive type. So we get all these primitive types. And then finally at the bottom, you're going to see one for an object array. Okay, the same thing we're going to have, this is going to be the same way throughout. Now, I'm not going to worry about binary search or compare. It compares arrays like a dictionary. But I don't know that we'll have much occasion to use it. And if you do have occasion to use it, it's pretty easy to figure out. But I'm going to talk about the most important methods that in here. One is copy of. It's not unusual to need to create a new, bigger array. In fact, when we talked about array lists in class, we noticed, we were told you could just keep chucking things on an array list and it would keep resizing. Well, let's take a look at what happens underneath. Internally, an array list contains an array. And the nice thing about arrays is you have constant time access, equal constant time access to all the entries in the array. Now, suppose I make an array here, and let's just make an array of integers. And say I put 5 elements in it. And now I start assigning things. I'm going to say foo square bracket 0 is equal to 6. And then maybe we'll put 7 here. I don't know, I'm just plopping in some random values. Okay, there's 1. And then 12. Just so you think I am doing this according to a pattern. No, it's entirely random. Yes, 3. Okay, then let's try 4 on for size. And then let's go and make number 5 minus 6. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. There is no 5th entry, so let's not do that. And now let's see what the array looks like. Now I decide I want to store another number, but I want to keep this part of the array, and it's really annoying. What am I going to do? I want to resize. I need a new, bigger house. So let's go into the array. Let's go in here and see what we can do. Okay, there's a copy of, so you can make a copy of an array, a copy of a range, but let's see if there's something that resizes. You want to do as little work as possible. Mismatch, all kinds of parallel things, and you'll notice there's like 8 of every method. Oh, let's see if there's a resize. Let's search on page. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there's no resize. Oh, rats. So we're going to have to do a little exploration here. Try to figure out what we can do. But I think we might be able to use, maybe we can use copy of or something like that. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to go back up to the top here. Top of the page. Sorry about all the scrolling. Let's see what we can do. Binary search isn't going to help us. So we're on a treasure hunt. Compare isn't going to help us. All right, compare unsigned isn't going to help us. Oh, look at copy of, though. Copy of takes an original array and gives a new length. So it copies the preceding, the specified array, truncating or padding with zero-ish, in all these cases, in all the versions, with zero-ish entries. So when we do this to an integer, it's going to put zeros in. So let's see how we do that. All right. So what we're going to do, we need to pass in the array and the new length that we want. So I'm going to say foo. I'm going to say arrays dot copy of. So you pass in the array and the new size we want. Say we need a new luxurious bigger house. It's of size 10. And then what I'm going to do is abandon the original array. And I'm going to point at a new one. So now I'm just going to move to my new house. And look what happened. Foo now has 10 entries. This is one of the most useful applications of the static service class arrays. Okay, so this is how we can quickly and easily create a new bigger array. Now remember, last time I said an array size is fixed, and so you cannot change it once you create it. However, you can make a new bigger array and copy the contents of your array into that, and the old one is now orphaned and left behind. So arrays.copyOf gets you a bigger house. And behind the scenes, this is what the array list does when it runs out of room. Its initial size is 10. And when it runs out of room, it resizes by making a new bigger array, doing basically this, and copies the contents over. So now you have a bigger array, but you never even see that. It happens completely behind the scenes. Now, when you're actually programming, if you anticipate that you're going to need to change the size of a collection, it's probably better to do an array list than an array. And the Bible of Java, that's Joshua Bloch's Effective Java, says you should do exactly that. But you need to be aware of arrays and how they function. And sometimes you'll have something whose size is not going to change. For example, you want to store all the names of the days of the week. We're not going to have a new weekday coming along, so you can make an array of size 7 for strings and store those in there. And it's very fast, very nice, very efficient for an application such as that. But if you're going to keep track of a list of people and you don't know how many people you're going to dump into this list, you're probably better off using array lists, because that is in keeping with the concept of use wheels, don't reinvent them. Now let's take a look. Now one other thing we have already used, we've used the toString method. And when you put something to standard output using system.out.println, you use arrays.toString. It's a static method, and it takes an array and prints it out in a Python-like format. And just so you can see it, I'm going to go ahead and do system.out.println. I'll do the full Monty here and say arrays, or this is pretty verbose, isn't it? But Java is noted for its verbosity. String of foo. 1, 2. Wham. Boom. See, looks just like a Python list. Exactly the same appearance. Now here's something else I'll tell you about array lists while we're talking about them. If you insert something into the middle of an array list, what has to happen is that tail of the list needs to move over by 1. And that's a relatively expensive copy operation, especially if you have, say, 10,000 elements in your array list. You want to insert something at the beginning. You have to move everybody else over by one to make room for that one operation. Now, you will notice that in the documentation here, copy of has a friend called copy of range, and that allows you to copy a range of an array and move a whole bunch of entries over on MOS. What you do not want to do, if you are confronted with that situation, is you should not do this with a loop. It's far less efficient. This takes advantage of the C language's underlying memcopy, which just duplicates bit patterns. It burns stuff onto memory with incredible speed, and you want to avail yourself that efficiency. So copy of range will copy a range of an array. What else do we have here that is of interest? There is an equals method. It's kind of obvious what it does. Fill. Fill will fill an array with a given value. So if you have, say, foo here, and I'm going to go foo.fill, or no, sorry, arrays.fill of foo, and I'm going to put the meaning of life in there. Right, and now I go ahead and print out foo. Foo is now full of 42s. So if you want to reset an array to 0, you can say arrays.fill, name of array, comma 0, wham, everything's wiped out. You can use this on primitive and on object types, both. So that's a useful service, and it's there. Let's see if there's anything else we'd like to take a peek at that we think might be interesting. Fill, of course, has all the overloads. Hash code, I'm not going to worry about. Mismatch, I've never had occasion to use it, but it's easy enough to explore. There are some things involving the Streams API, which we will get into much later. Okay. Sort. Yes, there is the service of sorting things in an array. Let's see what happens and how it works. So I have this, I just ruined my array. You know, I'm gonna put some things in here. Let's do this. Random R is new random. I'm going to avail myself of the random number generator. And we don't care about its toString method because we're never going to print out a random. But I can go like this. I can go for int k equals 0. K less than foo dot length. K plus plus. And I'm going to say foo square bracket k equals r dot next int. All right, empty parentheses. That's just going to generate a random integer. Okay, it looks kind of ugly. Now I'm going to sort it. You can go arrays dot sort of foo. And you can see that foo is sorted in numerical order. Okay, so you can sort elements of an array. Now, one thing you have to watch out for is this. If you are going to sort an array of objects, the objects had better be sortable. Now, this says something about natural ordering. Now, I'll tell you a test for whether there is a natural ordering. You go into that class's API guide and you look for a compare to method. If it has a compare to method, that's the natural ordering of the elements. And you can sort according to that. You can also sort with a comparator, but that's an advanced topic for later. So we have a number of different services. Here's our toString method. We have a number of different services that are useful. and that have been shown here. And if you're working with arrays and you're manipulating arrays, the Arrays service class is the place to look for using wheels and not reinventing them.